welcome to
Grab Life by the
Great, we are
horns.
on. So, welcome to our today's episode with Grab Life by the Horns. And we have a special guest today, and I'm really happy to have her here. So, please welcome with me Paras Panesar. I hope that I pronounced it again right. I had to practice a bit. So, thank you for coming, Paras.
It's okay. No, you said it perfectly, so no worries on that. But yeah, no, my name's Paras Panesar and I'm the event assistant at the FA. So we kind of work on England senior men's and women's and development teams, as well as FA competitions. So men's cup final, women's cup final, and the FA Community Shield.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for letting us know what you're doing already and where it's coming from. And this is exactly the reason why you are here, because you are basically, you choose the position for yourself career-wise, which is not really usual, especially not for women and especially not in your age. And when I heard the first time about you, it was about what you studied. I did not even know that's a thing that you can study. So maybe you want to let us know a little bit about your background, why you choose this, the subject that you study, and how everything began that you are here with us today.
Yeah, sure. So when I was younger, I actually used to play football. I used to love it, but I knew I'd never make it professionally. So I sat down with my careers advisor one day and I said, look, I really want to work in football, but I don't want to go through like the coaching side. I want to almost do like the admin and that type of way. And we sat down and we looked at different universities and courses that they offered. And there was one called UCFB at Wembley Stadium. And I had a look and they did a lot of like almost like the theory to football kind of courses. So I ended up studying football business and finance there here in Wembley. So yeah, it was absolutely an amazing experience, you know, just being in the stadium every week. Like what more can you kind of want from that? And then, yeah, that's kind of what's led me to here. But whilst I was actually studying, I also had a bit of work experience working for Watford Football Club. So that was really good to kind of be out in the football industry and kind of get more practical knowledge whilst I was learning kind of the theory of things. But yeah, I guess just having a passion for football from day one really helped with that. And I think that's, yeah, really kind of what's been one of the key things that has led me to where I am now.
How many women are you in this department or in the company, I would say, or in this association? Do you call it company or association?
Yeah, like association business. Do you know what? There are a lot of females that actually work there, which is really nice to see. I think the place where I found it the most surprising was probably at uni, because there was probably about a class of 20 of us, and in total there was about 3 girls, including myself, 3 or 4. Wow. So that was where, yeah, the kind of like, oh, okay, so we're the only girls type thing came into play. And I think it was like that across kind of a lot of the other courses. But I think as years are going on now, you're seeing a lot more females getting involved in the industry. And I think it's great to see. And I think, yeah, when you go on the road and you work with different football clubs or even at the FA itself, there are a lot of females there. And I think it's great. So, yeah, hopefully it's something that can carry on into the future.
That's great to hear. So are everybody who is working in the Football Association, and like obviously there's a lot of things behind the scenes, we can't imagine what you guys doing to make this show running. I think like people who are in the event industry, they realize what you're doing, even if they like plan small events, they can imagine how stressful it is, what you deal with it every day and what you have to do. But is it a thing that you really need to love football or be into football in order to work there? Is it required?
I wouldn't say it's necessarily required. I think because there's so many different industries within football that you can work in, whether that's kind of the finance route, partnerships, coaching, things like that, you're looking at the theory of things, so you're not necessarily out there playing, where I think having a passion for it and liking it definitely does help, because you have more of an awareness of what you're working towards and, you know, what you're trying to achieve and why you're trying to achieve it. But no, you definitely don't need to have an interest in it. It's just nice to. And I think you're around a lot of people who do have an interest in it as well. So, to engage with them in conversations is really nice, but it's not a be all and end all. Like you can get through it without liking football for sure.
So it's basically for everybody, just the company itself. It's just a different industry. And
yeah, exactly that. Like you're working for the Football Association, so it is only football that you're working on, but your day-to-day working doesn't have to be football. As I say, if you work in partnerships, you're dealing with kind of communicating with different partners and focusing on relationships and things like that. So there's definitely some really cool things that you can get involved with that don't almost have that direct impact to football.
I love to hear that, and I hope that you really inspire a lot of other women who are maybe as well thinking about in which direction they go to at least consider this path to see, okay, that could be really an interesting way to start a career or to have the career they're working in. I want to come back to you as well as a person. So it just because of your background, obviously, when you're playing football, you have to be a tough cookie in order to be successful in that. So what kind of challenges did you overcome so far, and how did you overcome? Is there a specific one maybe you have in mind that you want to share with us?
Do you know what? I don't have any challenges as such, because if I'm being honest, I'm quite sensitive. So you definitely don't need to be a tough cookie whatsoever.
Oh, really?
Because I think my passion for me was playing football and wanting to work in football. But I think when you come into the working world, it's about your drive as a kind of employee and working, not necessarily you playing the game. So I think as long as you're kind of showing up, you're working hard, and you're almost proving, I don't think it's proving yourself to people, but I just think it's good you want to set the bar high for yourself and show why you're different and almost better than everyone else. It's almost like applying for a job, isn't it? You want to be better than everyone else. And I think, just going out there and really working hard, I think that's the only thing that I would almost advise anyone. And I think that can be a challenge sometimes. For example, you have to work at such high pressure sometimes and have really tight deadlines, which can be a bit of a struggle. You could be balancing 3 games in 1 week, for example, and that can be really tough. But you just have to persevere. And that's why sometimes if you do have a passion for football, that can really help with that, because when that game's come together and you see it, you're like, oh, okay, I did all that work for this and it's really paid off. And I think that would probably be one of the most important things for me.
That leads me directly to my next question. How is your day-to-day task look like? What are you doing every day? How we can imagine you working on? Because sometimes, obviously, when you have the game on, it's always basically a little bit stressful before the game. And then when the game is on, is the stress over then? Or is it just what do you do every day?
Okay, so really on a game, it depends what you're kind of covering. So you could either be match managing, you could be deputizing, or you could be taking lead on the entertainment. So when you're match managing, you kind of look after all the arrangements for the games, and you work really closely with the teams, match officials, and you basically want to make sure that everyone's aligned in what's going on. So, for example, what time everyone's turning up on the day, getting key documents ready, so there's one called Countdown to Kickoff, which we have. And it's almost like the Bible before kickoff, because it's got all the key timings of when teams need to walk out, what time national anthems play, things like that. So we're in charge of almost putting that together and making sure everyone's happy with that. As a match manager, you also need to do referees briefings, so make sure they're happy with everything. You have to be in charge of pitch maps. So again, making sure teams are aware, making sure the groundsman's happy with everything. So that's kind of you will oversee everything. And then you'll almost have your deputy match manager, which will then kind of come in and look after the catering for the teams and the equipment for the teams. And, you know, they will also help with accreditation and access. So the deputy will work with the match manager, and the match manager will directly liaise with the teams to let you know what you need to do for that. And then you've got your entertainment lead, so they'll sort out all the pre-match entertainment. So before the game kicks off and the teams walk out, there's a lot of stuff that can go on the pitch. I'm not sure if you've ever seen it, but, you know, it could be banner parades, it could be light shows, it could be, anything, to be honest, from something as little as that to as big as whatever you can think of. And that really like slots in with everything. And I think there's so much to one match that I think people don't realize. And even like in my role now, it's really opened up my eyes into how much there actually is out there. But in effect, those three people will work together to almost bring it all together. But then you do liaise with different people in different departments. So you do liaise with your media, you do liaise with your broadcast, your partnerships, your marketing. So you want to make sure that everyone's happy, but you're almost chairing everything and you're like the voice of everything. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's what we do.
That's amazing. So what do you love the most in on all of the stuff you're doing?
I think the thing that I love the most is you constantly have something to work towards, and no game is ever the same game. So, you know, you could be working till 10, 11 o'clock at night for the whole week for the game that's on Friday or Saturday, for example. And then, you know, you can turn up, you know, put the game together, sit down and watch it. And just taking it in on a match day is something that I think people don't realize how much it actually means to you, just to have that 5 minutes to go outside and just look around and realize that you helped put it all together and you worked as a team with everyone else. And I think, there's some amazing like highlights, and I think everyone equally pulls their weight to just put together something so amazing. And you think it's just what's on pitch, but there is so much that goes on behind the scenes. And I think just constantly having something to work towards and seeing what you can actually do is amazing. And I love it for that reason.
Amazing. That's a great appreciation as well. Like, you know, like it's not always have to be the salary. Like this points like this, it's just like what makes you happy in this point, and supports what you did and shows the value.
Exactly. And to be honest, like we're always learning like from each other. Like I always look at my manager, I'm always learning from him, like everyone else in my team. There's always something new. And I think the really good thing with what we do is we're not always at Wembley, we're on the road and we work with different clubs around the country. So, you know, we're adapting to different stadiums. We're working with new people all the time. And it's really nice and refreshing to do that, because it just makes the job so much more exciting when you do that, especially like if you support the club or something like that. Obviously, it'll make it even better for you. But I think having that bit of change as well can really help. And it just makes it more exciting, to be honest.
And it's like a great basic as well for in which area you are going. So now, sometimes every time when I record something, my Siri is popping up. Sometimes I have no idea. Turn it off, so I can have random conversations. Is coming in, but it's a great basic to for further career steps, to be so flexible and to work all over the country. So it's you have like an extraordinary comfort zone, I imagine, because it's really no fear at all to change the location. A lot of people are really scared to change locations or to move to another city, even a country, whatever. It's really great to hear that.
We don't move like directly, but we will work there for a few days and then come back, you know, go home. And then if we have another game on the road, we kind of all go out as a team again and do that. But like, you know, if you in future you could love a place that much that you might think, you know what, I actually want to live there from that one time that we visited and worked there. You never know. So it does get really exciting.
Is it like we heard already? It's not a 9 to 5 job, obviously. But how does it work? Like, is it really from Monday to Friday, or how is the week structured? It's obviously not a normal structure we know from an employee side. So
Yeah.
how is it structured?
So it is like Monday to Friday, day to day, but then as soon as you have a game, you're expected to be on site 2 days before. So with that, it just helps us get ahead of match day really and start, getting familiar with the stadium, depending where we are, getting documents ready and just really letting ourselves get settled in, just so then when it comes to match day, we've put everything in place that we needed to. I think naturally the week running up to a match, things get a lot more intense because you're dealing with a lot more people, whether that's suppliers, teams. I think, that's when it then starts being a not so 9 till 5 and maybe a 9 till 9 or something like that. But I guess it depends how well you manage your workload as well. Like, if you're really on it, you'll get it done and you could do 9 till 5, but you might just have to do that extra hour later on in the day to get the extra thing done. So I think even if you were as organized as possible, some games are almost impossible to be so organized with. But I think as long as you are organized and you just work hard and you meet your deadlines, it's not someone turning around and saying, right, you need to do this by Thursday. It's just, you need to do that by Thursday and you will get it done and you will sit there and put the work in. And I think because we all have that work ethic, it really, really helps. And yeah, I'm quite big on just, sometimes you don't want to switch your laptop on at 9 o'clock at night, but sometimes we have to. And as I say, that's when on a match day and you have that moment to yourself and you realize what all that hard work was building up towards, makes it all worth it. So it's always worth it.
This work effort is not really common these days. So where is this coming from?
I think for me personally, I think I've always been like that. Like, I think during my childhood growing up, I've never really been like naughty. I've never not handed homework in. If anyone sees this, any of my friends, they're gonna take the mick out of me. But I've never like got detentions or stuff like that because I've just always met deadlines. And I think for me personally, like, that's why I just respect them. I have a lot of respect for deadlines, and I can't speak on behalf of other people, but obviously the people that I work with are also the same. Like, they get the job done. I think we all know what's expected of us. We all know we need to get this done. We're all working together, and I think we all want to achieve the same thing in a way. So that's why you do just naturally, work hard. And yeah, I think it's great. I think as well, like, you appreciate what you have. When you see that match day, you appreciate that you helped put this together. And I think that's what motivates you and almost fuels you for the next game, because you know exactly what you're working towards again. So yeah, I think it's really important.
It's really great to hear, and like, we really can hear your core values. It's like what you're always repeating: this working hard, being on time, going the extra mile. This is really not common these days. So I think a lot of companies would wish to have employees like you. Like, how like, I don't want that anybody have to call out now, but was this like when you look around in your time where you studied, were other students the same way, or is it the industry where everybody is very ambitious and hardworking? Is, like, would you say it's the industry, because other industry obviously have problems to get this type of people?
Yeah. No, I really think sports and football in general is very, very competitive. And I think that was one of the biggest things at uni was, you can turn up to the lectures, you can do the work, but what's actually going to put me ahead of everyone else? Is it applying for that summer job to get that experience? Is it talking to that person or going to that guest speaker, finding out more information there? And I think your time, well, for me personally, my time at uni was trying to set myself kind of above everyone else and trying to sell myself, because I knew that when I left, trying to prove yourself that you're better than everyone else is quite hard. And I think naturally you think just by studying a football degree you are ahead of everyone else, but that's definitely not the case, and you need to have more than just what you studied. And I think uni was really the time of making the most of the time that you had outside of it to be able to prove that. And yeah, as I say, like I had a job at Watford Football Club where I worked there on match days, and a big thing for me was networking on LinkedIn. One of my friends at uni really encouraged that, and it's something I'll always be grateful for, because I think that really helped to almost set myself up for where I am now. Because, you know, I think by talking to people in different industries or in the industry that you want to go into is so important, because you're not only putting your name out there, you're actually benefiting from it by finding out what you enjoy. You know, they could tell you like, oh, so, you know, day to day I do this, that and the other, and you might realize actually that's not for me and that's not actually what I will enjoy. Whereas you could have a conversation with someone else and you might be like, actually I think that's what I want to go into. And I think that's why networking is really important. And yeah, I would always encourage that, to be honest. But I know some people might disagree, but it just depends on you and your journey, I guess, and what you think helped you and what will help other people.
Well, that was already a lot of highlights and really tips and secrets what you can do when you're already in the university to give yourself a head start when you leave the university. Is there anything what you would say, I wish I would have this done in the university as well, or now with your experience, what you have, like that you say, okay, actually I should do as well in the university? Is there an extra bonus tip basically all of that? Because based on your experience right now, what you maybe did not really missed, but you did not put the focus on because it was not in your eyes, because you did not have the experience important enough to focus on that.
I think for me, it would probably be not getting more experience in terms of, you know, I had the match days at Watford, but I didn't necessarily have like the 2-week summer job at so-and-so football club to help me or stuff like that. But I think what set our year back a little bit was COVID. So by the time I could almost take opportunities like that up, unfortunately they couldn't go ahead because I had to move home because of COVID. So I think that was a struggle in a way, but I think like at uni you're presented with a lot of opportunities, and I think taking them is really important. And I think any summer job or just experience or networking or things like that really, really helps. But yeah, as I say, I definitely did try to get work experience and stuff like that, but unfortunately it just wasn't meant to be. But you know, after, I think you either came out of COVID almost saying to yourself, right, I need to try even harder now to get out there, or I just accept it for what it is. And I think that's quite tough. I think it was quite tough as any student. And I think the transition of coming out of uni and getting a job is something that no one really talks about, which I personally, like, I kind of struggled with a bit, because you're just out in the big wide world and you've got no one like holding your hand, no one telling you kind of what happens next. And it's really all down to you. And I think, yeah, that was hard. That was hard to almost like get your head around, but you just have to figure it out. And I think that's what everyone else kind of does. And that's what leads you to where you're meant to be. But yeah, definitely, I think if I'd taken more opportunities like that, rather than going for only one or two, I think that also could have, you know, contributed to me being really successful in some way, shape or form.
Very interesting. What was the best advice you received from, and maybe you want to share as well, from whom you received it?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think generally one of the pieces of advice that I got was to keep networking and to keep getting your name kind of out there. And I think that's why I say it now, because that's what I did, and that's what really, really helped me. I think just showing that you're willing, and whether you're going to meet someone from for a coffee, like on LinkedIn, who you've networked with, to just touch base on what they do, what you want to go into, things like that. I think it can really set yourself like up here without you even realizing, because you're breaking that barrier and you're connecting with them. But yeah, I think that's, honestly, I always say it, but networking is the biggest thing for me, and it really helped me. So yeah, that's one thing that I would always encourage, and that was advice that I got as well. And yeah, I mean, the person who gave it to me is also very successful. So I guess it depends on you and what will work best. But yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, networking was always my key as well. And this is somehow we met as well through
Exactly.
another person. And it was like, it was funny because you said like meet for a coffee. It was exactly like this. So we just like, arranged a date for coffee, and it was not even like, it was not even on the plan. Like, it was just like in a phrase, a side phrase, basically, where I listened and I just could not forget. So you never know who you know and who this person knows and why this could be interesting. And sometimes it's not really click like directly, but later on, and then you just go for it. But you have to take action. So
exactly.
This is a really good point. But it helped me as well. I was the same in the beginning. Like, for us, it was because I'm from Germany originally, so it was Xing, and this is basically the German version of LinkedIn. It was way before there, and then I switched somehow to LinkedIn. But that was really the most important thing for me, to use these tools to go out and network. And this is when I moved to France as well, the same thing. Like, I went to all networking opportunities, and I learned networking there because I was in a new country. I had to meet people. Like, I didn't want to be alone. And this is, like, you never know who you know and who you meet, and what's going to happen with this connection, and push through. And I think you made it all right. So it's really, it's really like, you can really see the drive and the red line from your, like, you're not really old right now, but from your younger age to now, from your past to now. So how old are you, by the way?
How old am I?
Yeah.
I'm 23.
You look at this, like, at 23, like, this career already. So running the events all by yourself, obviously. In the team, I know.
Obviously.
Obviously. But this is amazing, and being so clear already with this, who you are and what you want. This is really not common in this. Like, did you read in any like personal development books in the university, or how did you get this mindset? This is really unique, especially for your age. So how did you get this mindset?
Honestly, I've never really been into reading, and it's something that I've recently got into. And I've actually been reading a lot of almost like, I don't know if you call them like self-care kind of books, like almost focusing on, the mind and like being positive and, almost attracting like good things from keeping it really positive. And I think what you give out is what you receive. But no, I think whilst I was younger, generally, like, I didn't know what was going on, to be honest. Most of the time I was just turning up and going to school or going to uni. And as I say, like, I think, to be honest, a big thing has been like my upbringing. It's probably my parents that have kind of shaped me to kind of be this way and just work hard and things like that. But no, I honestly couldn't tell you, because I think, I've just always respected, like, I don't know, whether there's deadlines or, having to do certain things. You just have to do it, don't you? Like, it's part of life. You don't always want to do things that...
Well, you say it like this. Like, I know a lot of people, they would not agree with you.
Well, that's what I think anyway. And I think sometimes, like, I think if you don't do everything that almost you need to do, then how are you ever going to find what you enjoy the most? Because you haven't almost put yourself out there or been in a position to have to try new things. But I do think I was very lucky in the sense that, you know, I knew I loved football from day one. I knew I wanted a career in it. So I know it doesn't come as like easy as that to other people. So I know I was very lucky. But yeah, I think like just even if you don't know kind of what route to go down, I think just put yourself out there, like even if it's in 5 different industries and just researching all the different things that you could do or go down in those different industries, that's one step closer to getting to where you want to be type thing. And I think, yeah, you do have to have that motivation and that drive at the same time. But I think it's also realizing that nothing's going to get like handed to you. You need to work for it as well. But I think it definitely starts from you. And I think once you start to kind of motivate yourself and find the thing that you enjoy, then that's almost like the trigger and it just kind of goes up from there.
I have no idea what I should add to this. That was I love your energy. I love that I love your drive and
thank you,
your values. So I think like a lot of people can how do you like, I don't know the English expression for that, but a lot of people like can take you as a role model. Let's formulate like this, to go for the dream and for the careers. And obviously you're on LinkedIn, you already told us. So if you want to meet her, like go ahead and find her on LinkedIn. I will share the link as well below. To get in contact. And is there anything like after your last statement, really, I have no idea what to add. That was really a perfect summarize for me. Like, is there anything what I did not cover in my question right now, what you want to add to this episode?
No, nothing to add from my side. I think just generally, if you know, someone's sitting there watching this and doesn't have any idea where they want to go or what interests they have, just know that like there's no limits. Like the world is literally your oyster and you could go into something that you don't even have any idea exists right now. But just by putting yourself out there and, you know, speaking to certain people and, I don't know, reading that book or looking at that news column could just change it for you. And just don't be afraid because, you know, like I'm still constantly learning. Like I'm only at the start of my career at the moment, and I've recently been made England Women's Under-23s match manager, and I'm having to face things that I've never done before. That scares me all the time. I'm trying to get over my fear of public speaking. So yeah, stuff like that. Like I'm definitely still learning, and I'm nowhere near where I want to be in the future. But I think, yeah, just finding that thing that you love is probably the start of it, because you know, it sounds cliche, but you want a job where it doesn't feel like you're working. And I feel very fortunate that I feel like I found that. And yeah, if everyone else could have that, I think that would be great. So yeah, just find that thing that you love and work hard. And I'm sure hopefully it will all just go up from there. But yeah.
Well, Paras, thank you so much for your time. I really enjoyed it. And I think like we can learn so much, and I really enjoyed this energy and this positive and driven energy. I really love it.
No, thank you. I really appreciate you having me on here. I've enjoyed it too. So yeah, thank you again.
Thank you so much. So obviously we stay in contact, and everybody from us who is listening to this or watching this, you will find Paras information below this video. Thank you so much. Amazing. And see you next time.
Thank you.
Do you want to get paid? Introducing Legacy Builders Global, where everybody gets paid. We don't create investors. We create legacy builders. Legacy Builders Global. Visit us at www.legacybuildersglobal.com.